Did you hate him for that?
No. He even says it's a very unfortunate thing. I'm the first of 10 children from 8 wives.
Behind the shining lights of old Hollywood, there lived a darkness that no one dared to film. The laughter, the glitz, the fame, it was all a disguise. Behind those mansion gates were cries that never reached the cameras. Children who grew up not loved, but terrified. Every spotlight has a shadow, and tonight we walk into it. But before we do, make sure you subscribe to Heartfelt Tales and turn on notifications. Because the stories you're about to hear are the kind Hollywood tried to bury forever. Joan Crawford. She was the perfect Hollywood queen, elegant, commanding, admired by millions. But to her daughter Christina, Joan Crawford wasn't a mother. She was a monster in silk. Behind her sparkling gowns and polite smiles, Crawford ruled her home with iron rage. Christina remembered nights spent scrubbing floors until her hands bled. The smallest mistake, a misplaced hanger, an untidy dress, could unleash fury. When Christina later released her memoir Mommy Dearest, the world gasped. The woman America adored was revealed as one of the most terrifying mothers in Hollywood history. Joan denied it all, but her daughter carried the truth in her scars. Bing Crosby, his voice defined Christmas. His songs healed hearts across the world. But inside his home, there was no warmth, only fear. Bing Crosby demanded perfection from his sons. Miss a note, fail a test, cry for comfort, it all ended the same way, with a belt or a fist. Gary Crosby once said, "He was a tyrant with a heart of ice." The man who sang about peace brought none to his own house. 2 of his sons later ended their lives, haunted by a childhood without love. He gave the world music that comforted millions, but not his own children. Henry Fonda. Henry Fonda was the face of integrity. Calm, strong, noble, and admired by millions. On screen, he stood for justice, courage, and moral truth. But behind closed doors, he was a wall of silence. To his children, Jane and Peter, he wasn't a hero. He was a stranger living in the same house. He never shouted, never struck, but his indifference cut deeper than anger ever could. Jane once said, "He could talk about art for hours, but never once asked how I felt." She spent her youth chasing his attention, performing, smiling, winning, always hoping for one word of approval that never came. His cruelty wasn't in violence. It was in absence. A father who saved the world in films, but couldn't save the hearts that needed him most. Ethel Gum. Before Judy Garland became a legend, she was just little Frances Gum, a girl with a voice too big for her years. Her mother, Ethel, saw not a child, but a business. Ethel pushed Judy from stage to stage, even when she was sick or crying. To keep her awake, she gave her pills. To help her sleep, she gave her more. At just 13, Judy was already addicted, not by choice, but by command. Years later, she said, "My mother only loved me when I was working," and that single line is one of the most heartbreaking confessions in Hollywood's history. Ryan O'Neal. He was the golden boy of the 1970s. Handsome, charming, and adored by millions. But to his daughter Tatum, Ryan O'Neal wasn't a father. He was competition. At just 10 years old, Tatum won an Oscar for Paper Moon, starring beside her father. The world saw a loving duo, but behind the scenes, Ryan mocked her success and turned affection into jealousy. Every compliment she received, every headline she earned, pushed him further away. Fame had made him fragile. Years later, Tatum said, "He didn't know how to love." Hollywood applauded Ryan O'Neal, but his daughter learned to survive without ever knowing what love truly felt like. Mildred Turner. Before Lana Turner became the sweater girl, she was just a teenager from Idaho. Before Lana Turner became the sweater girl, she was just a teenager from Idaho, innocent, hopeful, and unaware that her beauty would become her curse. Her mother, Mildred, saw fame not as a dream but as an escape from poverty. She dragged Lana to Hollywood, parading her at adult parties, dressing her beyond her years, feeding the industry's hunger for youth and perfection. Every photo, every camera flash stole another piece of Lana's innocence. Years later, she confessed, "I never had a childhood, only a career." Mildred wanted success, but she built it on her daughter's stolen youth. In chasing glory, she traded love for ambition. Tippi Hedren, Hitchcock's icy blonde, his perfect muse. To the world, Tippi Hedren was beauty carved in gold, graceful, untouchable, divine. But when her own fame faded, she turned her unfinished dreams toward her daughter, Melanie Griffith. At only 14, Melanie was thrown into a world of flashing cameras, adult parties, and whispered temptations. A Hollywood she was far too young to survive. Tippi called it protection, guidance, opportunity. But it was control disguised as love. Melanie's childhood vanished under the weight of her mother's ambition. Years later, she would say she grew up fast, too fast. The spotlight gave her everything except innocence. Charlie Chaplin, the man who made the world laugh, couldn't make his own children smile. Charlie Chaplin, the genius of silent cinema, was a perfectionist who demanded obedience, order, and silence inside his home. Every move his children made was judged, every mistake punished with icy disappointment. His son once said, "He belonged to the world, not to us." Chaplin's brilliance on screen became a shadow in real life, towering over a family that only wanted warmth. To millions, he was a hero, a legend, a symbol of joy. But to those who lived with him, he was a ghost in a golden cage, unreachable, cold, and silent. Marvin Gaye Sr. Marvin Gaye's voice could heal the world, but the man who raised him destroyed him. His father, a strict preacher, ruled their home with fists, fear, and twisted faith. He called Marvin's music sinful, his fame an act of rebellion against God. The young singer spent years trying to win the approval of a man incapable of love. But the story ended in horror. On an April morning in 1984, after a lifetime of tension, Marvin's father shot him dead, just one day before his 45th birthday. The man who preached love murdered his own son. It wasn't just tragedy. It was prophecy fulfilled in blood. Joe Jackson, he built the Jackson 5. He made Michael Jackson a legend. But his empire stood on fear, not love. Joe Jackson treated his children like soldiers. Every dance step drilled, every mistake punished. Michael once said, "He'd stand over me while I sang, watching, waiting." Their rehearsals lasted until dawn. Childhood didn't. Even after Michael became the most famous man on earth, he still trembled when his father called. Joe said he was building discipline, but what he built was trauma. Behind the fame, behind the glittering stages, stood a boy who never knew peace. Joe created stars, but destroyed the souls that made them shine. The reflection. Hollywood's golden age glittered on the outside, but behind those mansion walls, love was a luxury. We look at these legends and see glamour, but their children saw pain, perfection, fame, applause. All of it meant nothing when home felt like a battlefield. And though the cameras have changed, the story hasn't. Today's fame lives on screens, not in studios. Parents still chase validation through their children. Only now, the spotlight fits in the palm of your hand. So before you scroll to the next video, remember, not every light shines. Some burn everything they touch. If you felt this story, subscribe to Heartfelt Tales, because next time, we'll open another door that Hollywood hoped would stay shut. Until then, stay curious, stay kind, and never forget, behind every smile, there may be a shadow.